There will be times where your business will suffer slightly because, a child needs your attention, isn't well or something, and you'll have to call and cancel a business meeting, reschedule it. There'll be other times where there's something very important going on in the business, and you're going to have to say to your kid, you know what, I know you got a soccer game, but I'm not going to be able to be there. You know why? Because I got work to do. And that's a really important lesson.
Hi, it's Linh Podetti here, and today we are thrilled to have Rabbi Daniel Lapin back on the show. Well, Rabbi Daniel Lapin is a highly esteemed American rabbi who has been a regular guest on my channel. And in this episode, we will be delving into the fascinating subject of success and fulfillment, exploring how to find our purpose in life, and uncovering the dynamics of a husband and wife relationship. I was seriously amazed and experienced numerous aha moments during our conversation, and I'm confident that you will too. Well, please join me in giving a warm welcome to Rabbi Daniel Lapin. So welcome back to the show, Rabbi. How are you?
Couldn't be better, thank you, Lynn. Always a great pleasure to be able to talk with you.
Although now today's topic is actually so vital because I just spoke to an EO member, a member that I'm part of this business thing. And, I can just see this struggle in his face where he's like, I'm looking for another business opportunity, but, something more than just money. It just feels like, and then I had another member not long ago kind of go, a topic I would love to learn in the future is like, what is the purpose of life? And I could just see this facial expression as if they know there's something more to life, and business and making more money isn't answering at all. So the first question I have for you is, I guess, what does success mean and what does fulfillment mean, especially in your background of learning from the Bible and God, etc.?
Yeah, sure. Well, you've heard of the 5 books of Moses, right?
I think so.
So if you think about it, Moses could have used a smaller font and get it all in one book. I mean, it's not, it's only about 80,000 words, so it's not that hard. Why 5? And the answer is because for a complete, satisfying, and fulfilling life, there are 5 elements to making it all work. And the focus needs to be on all 5. And these 5, and I should really break them down a little bit as well, but I list them as the letter F just because it makes it easy to remember. And then 5 Fs is, FF, 5 Fs. So, and I also want people, when they hear the F word, I want them to think of these words, not the wrong word. So, and so the 5 aspects of a fulfilling life are in no particular order, by the way. I always explain that these need to be written down, not in a list, because a list implies a sequence of importance. They need to be written down on the circumference of a circle, 72 degrees apart, because they're 5 times 72 is 360, which is the whole circle. And then you can draw lines that link them. And the only problem with that is that it ends up looking a little bit like a pentagram, which people wrongly suppose to be a satanic symbol, which is rubbish. But at any rate, the 5 aspects of a fully satisfying and fulfilling life are, number 1, family relationships. Now, that includes your primary sexual relationship, your partner, but it also includes the relationships you have with people because of a sexual relationship of somebody. So in other words, you have a close relationship with your siblings. Well, your siblings are there because your mother and your father loved one another. And if you like getting together for a Barbie with your cousins, well, that's because grandpa and grandma found ecstasy in one another's arms. And so it's all relationships that are sexual at root. Another way of putting that is family, and so I call this family relationships. Then the next are all relationships having to do with finance. And that means your customers and your clients. It means your vendors and your suppliers. It means your bank manager and the head of the private equity group that's buying your company. All of those people. Plus, it is also a relationship with your belongings that you were able to acquire through your finances. And so if you're into cars, well, then it's your car. If you're into your house, it's your house and your garden. And maintaining those things in terms of a constant relationship with those things is really very much a part of the whole concept. So it's relationships, and the famous Harvard longitudinal study of happiness. It's been going now for over 70 years. They've been tracking the people, and now they're tracking their children, and they've even started tracking their grandchildren. And the one thing that keeps coming out is that the most important thing that people will tell you is their relationships. So we divide them up into sexual and financial, and as I've explained, that's extended family, financial, and then there's a third kind of relationship which has nothing to do with finances. It has nothing to do with family. These I call friendship, and these are your friends. And if you're if you're part of a yacht club, then it's those people. And if you're politically involved, then the political party you're with and the people you associate with through that. And so that covers all the human relationships you're likely to be in contact with, as well as relationship with your money itself. It's important. I emphasize the need for people to learn how to understand financial statements. And if you're going to buy stock in a company, then you need to have a relationship with that company through its financial statement. You need to be able to know what's going on. And then finally, fitness, a relationship with your own body, that you're in tune with your body, you look after your body, and keep it in as good a condition as you can. And then finally, faith, connection with things that are spiritual, non-material. And one of those 5 areas is an essential part for a complete and fulfilling life. And so the answers to what is a successful life is a life where each of those 5 areas is developed and is growing, and where each of the 5 are linked to all the other 5 as well, and the other 4.
Yeah. So how do you know you've reached that success, or that there's a destination that you've hit? Or is our expectation just really be, as long as you are progressing, like you said, you're like, each one is growing day by day, and that's all what life is all about? Because I feel like, it's not like we have this manual that goes, hey, step 1, you do this, step 2, when you get to step 5, you've finished. It's what I think most of us feel like. Is there a finish line? And so, what's your thoughts on that?
So it's a very important question, and I've laid out the answer very explicitly. It's hugely important. In the 19th century, there was a great British author called Edward Gibbon, and he wrote a book called The Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire. It took him about 30 years to do. And they say that there was a party that was thrown by his publisher when it was finished. All his friends were invited, and they couldn't find him. And somebody went looking for him, and eventually they found him in a little room all by himself, weeping away, tears running down his face. No one could understand. Like, what's the matter? You finished your book. This is a celebration. And he says, I have no idea why I'll get up tomorrow morning. And so you touched on it yourself a moment ago. It's not a destination. The joy comes from the progress. If somebody is down at the lowest rung of the ladder, and tomorrow he's going to be one little rung higher, he's going to extract more joy from life than somebody who's way up at the top and just stays there, doesn't do anything different. It's the it's the delta in mathematical terms. It's the change, how much you've changed. You can look and see that in the last week, do an evaluation on Friday afternoon at the end of the week. You take a look and say, you know what, I'm X dollars ahead of where I was a week ago. That's fantastic. My relationship with my wife or my husband, I put time into it this week, and we did great things, and we had good times together. That's great. This is good. Have I made new friends this week? Yes or no? If no, then that's not good. Have I kept up my exercise regimen? Am I eating healthily, or did I, go down to the refrigerator in the night and eat up 2 plates of chocolate cream eclairs? It's progress every week. There is not a destination. There's no point at which anyone says, well, I've arrived, I don't have to do anything else, I'm now at Happyville. That is completely untrue. Anybody who says I've arrived, I don't have to do anything else, will be far from happy, I promise you.
Yeah. That's really great to know.
Given.
Yeah. And I guess the other thing that people get stuck with is like, kind of, okay, I get those areas, I understand what it means, but like, what is my purpose? Like, how am I different to others, or how do I tune into the thing that I do that God made me for? Like, is there any method that you can suggest?
Well, that is that's the faith component. And what I recommend is that people focus on ideas such as, do identical twins have the same fingerprints or not?
No, don't.
It's a huge problem. If you say they don't, my next question is, well, then, since they both have the identical DNA, where does twin A get DNA different from twin B to create different fingerprints? Where does that come from?
God.
And the answer is that nobody knows. Now, let me just say that people who like to pretend they know will start babbling about things like epigenetics, and so all of which means absolutely nothing. It's a theory that addresses the idea of maybe turning certain genetic impulses on and off. Nobody actually knows the answer to the question. How on earth do twins have separate, different fingerprints? Nobody actually knows. And the answer is that our fingers are representative of our creativity. And the good Lord gave each of us our own unique capacity for creativity. And that mark on the end of your fingers, I don't call it a fingerprint. I call it a soul print. Its uniqueness is the uniqueness of your soul. And so if you cloned a human being, which is essentially what the identical twin is, same DNA, so not surprisingly, they look identical, but their souls are different. They don't have the same soul. They have the same body. And so we don't find uniqueness in our body, we find uniqueness in our souls. And that is getting onto the road towards complete spiritual fulfillment, and part of that being seeking your purpose.
Powerful.
But each of our purposes is to maximize our uniqueness. Now, if I were to think, I think I'm going to focus, I'm going to get a Botox facelift, and I'm going to get hair plugs, and I'm going to try and become a male swimsuit model, I'm going to find that I'm not probably going to find an enormous amount of fulfillment in that, because I'm focusing on the body. And the truth is that our bodies are not terribly unique.
Yeah. This reminds me of the people who are just going to some people who try to look like Barbie, and they're trying to constantly modify their body. And you can just tell from the comments of everyone, like, stop doing this to yourself. You're like caught in this fixing, and it just feels like you're never getting there, and you're looking worse.
Correct. Right. So finding purpose is focusing on your uniqueness, not on what you have in common with everybody else, but what makes you unique? What is there that you can do that nobody else can do? And to develop that and focused on that, and if you think about it, in many ways, your life experiences and your unique capabilities have equipped you precisely to do what you are doing now.
Yeah.
And that's important.
And this is going to be a very hard question for me to ask, but when some people say, look, my uniqueness or my purpose in life is to just serve my kids or be a mom, right? And then there's the side of me where I'm like, I am a mom as well, but I felt like God wanted me to be, let's say, a networker, helping others through business or creating jobs or developing countries. And it felt a bit deeper. I'm not saying, it's hard for me to talk about this because it feels like I'm judging or I'm thinking who's right, who's wrong. But I'm like, is it that some people haven't chosen to go deeper with their uniqueness and go, okay, this is that safe space that I want to be, where I just want to serve as a mum or as a wife, and that is my purpose?
Well, even those two things are very different. Being a mother and being a wife are two of the things that you have to do. And there's no question about it. It's challenging. Life is much easier for the specialist than the generalist. If you can focus on just doing one thing, this is one of the reasons that business is kind of fun, because when you get to your office, all you have to do is focus on your work. And you don't have to think about anything else. But very often the role of mother and wife are in conflict with one another. What do you do if your husband says, I've got a business trip and it's to Los Angeles, but on the way back I can stop in Hawaii for 4 or 5 days, and I want you to meet me there. I want you to come and let's spend a few days in Hawaii together. And you think to yourself, I've got 3 children and I hate leaving them, and who'll look after them properly while I'm away and so on. And you really don't want to do it, because every molecule of you as a mother, every mothering molecule is saying to you, tell your husband no. And that's being a terrible wife. Because the truth is that if you can give your children a happy marriage in which to grow up in, that is far more valuable than making sure you're there to do homework with them or to give them a glass of milk and a plate of cookies. And so it's very, very hard for mothers. I get asked this by mothers all the time, what should I do? And the answer is be thrilled and grateful that your husband actually wants to spend 5 days with you and not with somebody else. And so this kind of challenge in one form or another arises frequently, if not constantly. So yes, you are working on all fronts simultaneously. You are developing your business. That is part of it. And now there may well be a woman who, together with her husband, agrees that she's not going to be doing else. She thought she was going to run a business, but she had a baby, and all she wants to do is be with her baby. God bless her. That's fine also, as long as that's something that she and her husband have decided and they agree on. Perfect, nothing wrong with that. But in situations where a woman decides that she will figure out how to be a mother and also at the same time how to run her business, fantastic. And there will be times where your business will suffer slightly because a child needs your attention, isn't well or something, and you'll have to call and cancel a business meeting, reschedule it. There'll be other times where there's something very important going on in the business, and you're going to have to say to your kid, you know what, I know you got a soccer game, but I'm not going to be able to be there. You know why? Because I've got work to do. And that's a really important lesson. More important than me being there and cheering you on is you knowing that work is important, and I have to do work even if I don't feel like it. I would rather be there watching you play, but I'm doing what I have to do, just as I want you to grow up knowing that you can't do what you feel like doing. You have to do what you know you must do.
Yeah. And just talking about work or business, I feel like it's the area that helps us to develop ourselves and find our true, unique purpose. For me, I felt like, because I worked, I realized that, this is my love for the developing countries or creating jobs or knowing how to connect. If I was just purely a mum, I feel like maybe I would have missed out on discovering how I can serve the world. What's your thought on that?
That is a very personal thing. That is you.
Mm.
But there may well be another mom who makes a different decision.
Mm.
And there may be yet a third mom who has a kind of job which means she has to travel away from home 7 or 8 days a month and breaks her heart to leave her kids. But that's what she decides she has to do. And so that kind of balance is very difficult, and it's one of the reasons that marriage, when done right, works so well, because two people are better than one.
Mm. And so how do you know if you are then limiting your potential if you, let's say, stay in that same zone going, okay, look, I want to be around with my kids and this is the best that I feel like I can do. How do you know that, your because, that's all comes down to your unlimited potential and God wants more for you, for your life and all that. And I don't know, it's just a bit of that struggle of understanding how to balance that, going for your full potential and then kind of slowing down, sacrificing and being there for your children.
Yes. So raising the next generation, I really don't think there are too many things that are more exciting than raising a next generation. And I must say, I'm very grateful that we had and raised 7 children. I'm very grateful for that because, number one, it's giving us a whole bunch of grandchildren it's just complete refreshing and renewal of life, which is wonderful. But it also helped my wife and I realize and see that raising children is incredibly important, incredibly valuable, and for many women, the most valuable and most exciting thing, being a wife and a mom, is what for many women is. Now, a lot of women feel that they're being judged negatively.
Mm.
Many women defiantly, for occupation, write housewife, knowing that they're being looked down on and all of this is due to a societal drive. And I won't for now go into the socio-political forces that make this happen, but societal drives that for nearly 60 years now have indoctrinated women into believing that taking orders from a client or from your boss or from your customers is somehow a higher order of living than taking care of your children and your family. And many women have been conditioned to believe that. And the trouble is you only get one time around. So sometimes if we wait for certainty on certain things, and by the time the certainty arrives, it's too late. So in my case, as a rabbi, I've spoken many times to women in their late 30s and early 40s who were told that the most important thing is to develop your career. Don't worry about marriage and children till much later. And they bought that message, and they're saying, well, I've achieved the heights I've wanted to in my career, and I'm now ready to marry and settle down. The trouble is that I don't know how to get married.
Yeah.
And the answer is that you're going to marry somebody you never expected to marry, if you marry at all, because you missed out your best opportunities.
Yeah.
You can't do everything in this life. You do have to make up your mind. And in the final analysis, the only way I manage to have everything I have is because I'm married. And so it's a two-person operation.
Yeah.
I have family and I have career, but only because I have a wife.
That definitely helps.
And in the case of women, it's very often a case of women and men understanding that the career, even for a stay-at-home mom, a traditional wife, stay-at-home mom, the guy has to understand it's not his career, it's their career, because he wouldn't have it without her. He certainly wouldn't have children. And so I get very irritated when a guy says he's got a traditional stay-at-home wife who's looking after the kids and to make sure when he comes home, it's lovely to come home from work because he's not sitting down with a woman who starts telling him about what a hard day she's had. He's sitting with a woman who's grateful for the fact that he makes it possible for her to be home. But then the guy talks about my house or my job, my money. And it isn't, it's ours. You're a team. And neither of you would have what you have without the other.
Yeah. And that's the risk for women who are purely a stay-at-home mom. And depending on the husband, if you get the wrong husband who basically had this financial abuse on you and you can't ever leave. And I think that's probably what was one of my fear. And I guess now I realize that as a woman and a wife, a mum, I try to work from home, create a home-based job for myself because I can do both. But yeah,
that's wonderful.
Yeah, what's your thought on, I guess, this risk for women and the whole financial abuse thing?
So this is you're asking hugely important questions here, and I would like to answer the question you've just asked as specifically as I possibly can, because it is so important, Lynn. You use the phrase, what happens if she marries the wrong man? Mm-hmm. I am going to say something now that requires an introduction, because I am not saying what I'm about to say in order to be provocative or to get headlines. I'm saying it because it is the cold, hard truth, as hard as it might be for people to hear. And that is, well, let me first of all say that I saw on a man's blog or a man's online magazine, the most important decision you ever make in your life is who you marry. Mm-hmm. Actually, that's nonsense.
Well,
the whole notion that in all the 7 billion people on the planet, of whom about 3.5 billion are women, that of all those women, there's only one hiding somewhere in Sri Lanka or Singapore or Suriname, and that one is you. And if you don't find her, you're doomed to lonely sadness for the rest of your life. It's simply not true. I see in women's magazines, which I devour voraciously because it gives me better understanding into the problems people face. And one of the articles that crops up 1,000 times, slight exaggeration, is how do you know that he's the one? You never do, because he isn't the one till you make him the one. So let me say it very directly, and it takes me a good hour when I sit down with a young man and I'm trying to help him understand, because he's about to make mistakes in his life. It takes me at least an hour to get him to even open to the possibility that what I'm saying is true. I say to the guy, within 50 miles of here, there are at least 100 women you could marry tomorrow and have a very happy, successful life. There isn't one. because the person you choose is not even close to being as important as how you run the marriage.
Yes, exactly.
And so I say exactly the same thing to women. There isn't the one. There's the person you decide to marry. And that decision is a serious commitment before God and man. Is he the 100% right person for you? No, not yet. Nobody is. But through a lot of hard work, particularly during the first few years of marriage, each of you grows and changes. It's really important to understand that there is a colossal difference between human beings and cats or cows or camels or kangaroos even, or koala bears. There's a huge difference because cats are going to be cats tomorrow and the next day as well. And a camel's going to be a camel next month. And a cow's going to be a cow next week. And a kangaroo is going to be a kangaroo in a month's time. But there's no telling what you and I might be next month. We are capable of growth and change. And so if today I'm a single guy and in a month's time I'm married, it would be folly to suggest that I'm the same person I was a month ago, because serious, real growth and change have already all started to take place. So, yes, there is a risk. The risk is that a woman gets married and the marriage goes downhill. And in 5 years' time or 10 years' time or 20 years' time, she's divorced and alone and she's got to make a living. But here's the paradox, Lynn. The paradox is, and sometimes these things are easier to understand when you take them to the limit and you look at the extreme case. Let's say that your daughter asks you, can I join your business? I want to learn how to become financially independent. And she's 19 and 20 and 22 and 24, and she's doing incredibly well. And she keeps at it. And by the time she's 27, she's got a multi-million-dollar business. Now she wants to get married. What are you going to say if the guy she's marrying is, you'll pardon me, I love truck drivers, but I'm just saying as an example, is a truck driver who makes $50,000 a year? Okay. What are you going to say to your daughter now?
As long as he loves you and you love him, I guess. No, not a good answer.
I hope you won't say that.
Oh God, I need your advice.
Because then I have to ask you to define what love means. I've got to ask you whether of all the thousands of couples in Sydney that are getting divorced in 2023, I've got to ask you what percentage of them said, I love you when they got married?
All of them, 100%.
All of them.
Yeah.
So how can it possibly be useful to know that somebody loves you? The reality is that marriages in which the woman has more money than the man are very, very difficult to keep going. They've got a high rate of failure. Wow. It's just a reality.
Is it our traditional mindset that the guy should be...
It's nothing to do with traditional mindset. It has to do with hardwiring into the male psyche, which is not going to change because of 60 years of feminist rhetoric. When a woman sometimes says to me, the guy is frightened of my success. You know, he's intimidated by me. That's why he doesn't want to get married to me. And I say, he's really not intimidated by you. He doesn't like you. There's a big difference. He may want to have sex with you, but he doesn't really want to live with you. You know why? Because you have turned yourself into the kind of woman that if you were a man, you would want to marry. That's what you've done. And that's not what he's looking for. One of the most interesting studies that gets done and again in first-year psychology is they show guys pictures of girls, and under each girl is no name, just an occupation, ranging from preschool teacher to investment banker. And without exception, the guys always find the women with lower occupations more attractive. And then where they show exactly the same photographs, but they reverse the occupations, the women who were listed as nurse, are now partner in a law firm, then the guy's perception of attractiveness changes.
Wow.
The very worst thing for a man is impotence. There's nothing worse for a man because his masculinity is gone.
Yes.
The step to impotence is not being needed.
That's right. Makes so much sense because I have seen examples. Yeah.
Say, I'm sorry, go. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Carry on.
I just had an aha because I've seen this in real life where, I've seen friends who the partner earns less and just is depressed rather than being happy. He's not happy. And I don't think he knows where his unhappiness is coming from. I think there's another show called How to Get Rich or something on Netflix. And once again, the dynamic between the woman and the guy was happy to be a stay-at-home dad, but he starts to lose his happiness. He's depressed.
Yep. And invariably what happens is eventually she has an affair with the high-earning boss at work or a partner in another firm that she meets, or he does. He finds a sweet girl who looks up to him in a way his wife doesn't, and that's who he wants to be with. And the idea that this aspect of masculinity and femininity can be modified is complete nonsense. It's a very popular belief, but it's a wrong-headed belief. So the question of what to do in raising your daughter becomes really, really difficult, because on the one hand, you say to yourself, I'd like her to be financially secure, but in so doing, you're also harming her likelihood of a happy marriage.
Oh, yes, that's right.
So it becomes
it's a harder chance to find someone that's more successful than her. Yeah.
Yes, correct, exactly. So the best thing is to give her the capacity, help her get a qualification that she can work and then move to part-time as she wants to, and where she's not going to be challenging the guy. But these are just the realities of how human beings are. And, and from time to time, women will say to me, well, he's got to learn to accept it. Well, he doesn't actually, because there's other fish in the sea. One of the reasons that so many American men are marrying women from Eastern Europe is exactly this point. They're marrying women who are grateful to them for marrying them and bringing them to the United States. And the women are agreeable. And the critics of this say, so what, you just want some kind of Barbie doll who just says yes and looks up to you all the time? Exactly. You're beginning to get the idea.
Wow, that's really eye-opening. And I really didn't expect us to go from this success life thing to, deep diving into this. But this is so important because it still answers the question of why we might feel unhappy and not fulfilled, because there's so many, elements within our life that
for a man,
So much complex, yeah.
For a man, and by the way, here's another thing that has been proven again and again and again. Anytime there's a financial downturn and a lot of people lose their jobs, which has happened several times in America, and experience sexual dysfunction and impotence. Women have no sexual dysfunction from that. Because when a woman loses her job, it makes her more attractive to a guy, not less attractive, because it means he's needed.
Yes.
But when a man loses the ability to make money, it destroys his masculinity.
Awesome. Well, we're going to have to leave it there because I think we've got so much gold nuggets in this topic. So thank you again for spending time with me and really helping me to, I just can already tell the things I need to apply to my life, because sometimes vulnerability, I can come across as this strong, powerful woman. And as much as my husband actually said to me, I can't wait for you to make more and think, because I want to relax and do nothing. But that's what he thinks he wants. That's what he thinks.
And it may even be what he thinks you want to hear.
Yeah, that's right. And when it really happens, the dynamic's going to go in the wrong
God
way.
forbid, if it really happens, it would be terrible. Yeah.
Right.
Won't
Well,
work well.
thank you so much for your time today, Rabbi. And we'll see you again.
Pleasure always. And it's wonderful to have the chance to interact. You're a wonderful interviewer, by the way, I have to tell you. You really are, because particularly where we can see one another, because your face is so alive and so vivacious, and you are reacting to everything that I say. So I naturally find it very stimulating to converse, and so you really do. I'm sure you bring out the best in all your interviews.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rabbi. And we're going to put in the promo code as well to your course. I really love that course. It was amazing because it doesn't just talk about finance, talk about, retirement, because there's things that we think that we want to just retire and do nothing. And then, no, that's not the answer. So,
people die with that. People die. And this is just an example of where you see family and finance intersecting, where a family relationship gets significantly impacted by what happens to finances.
We definitely need to deep dive that in the future episodes. So thank you again, Rabbi.